Welcome back to the Goode Intelligence Biometric Summit. We've had a tremendous day so far, and we've engaged with almost 600 people throughout the day. So, which is definitely our largest audience for a format that we kicked off in London during 2018 as a physical event. So I definitely look forward to when we can meet face to face again. Joining me around the fireside today is Robin Bortz from Phonexia. And we shall be discussing the changes that the pandemic has brought to our lives, the new landscape that has resulted, and how customer and business preferences can be achieved. Robin will kick off this chat with a presentation that frames some of the discussion points, followed by a Q&A session. If you have a question, then please submit them using the Q&A facility. We will endeavor to get to all of your questions during the live sessions, but we may have to follow up after the event and answer some of them. Thank you, Robin.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm just sharing my screen and I'm having some difficulty. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Brilliant. Yep, we can see it.
Okay, excellent. So thank you, everyone. Sorry for the slight hitch. My name is Robin. I'm the Business Development Manager in the commercial sector at Phonexia. We're a company based out of the Czech Republic. We've been around for 22 years supplying speech and voice biometric solutions. Okay, today I'm going to speak about the new reality, how COVID has changed the landscape, about how we behave. And because of that, what challenges call centers are facing compared to what we had before that. Given the situation, what do customers want? How do they want to interact with businesses and call centers? What do business want now that the landscape has changed? And then we'll look on what capabilities are needed in order for businesses to do what they would like to do. So just before we start, if we can put up a poll so that we can see how things may have changed in the last year. So we're asking you in the last year regarding your banking, have things changed how you're interacting with your bank, online, branch, telephone, and how often would you react? Okay, we'll just give it a few more moments. If all of you can just give a reply, doesn't have to be exactly correct, but more or less how you're interacting. Okay, and are we going to move to the second question?
Second question was live as well, so I can share the results now.
Okay, so we can see no one's obviously going to the branch anymore. People interacting online and by telephone, and sorry, this is a second question, right?
The second question, in the last year, how many times have you called your healthcare provider or organization?
Right.
Just towards the bottom of that sharing screen.
Okay. Okay. So again, it appears obviously with the people aren't going to the branch. The interaction is mainly online through the digital channel, and certainly many people via the telephone channel as well. And And certainly with healthcare, there's more of a chance that people are calling multiple times, where in the past it would be less likely to get on a call with a healthcare provider. If we can go back to the presentation, if we can end the poll. Okay, so basically, during the last year, first of all, many people are working from home. A lot of that's been mandated. Essential workers are obviously continuing, but certainly a lot of people who previously would go to the office are now working from home. And post-COVID, this is not going to change. I can assure you, and it won't change because people have seen the benefits of it. There's a small discussion: are people more efficient from home or from the office? I'm in the minority, and people generally will say that they're more efficient working from home. And I can tell you where I'm based, and some of the markets opening up, and some offices, employees can go back to the office. Nobody is running back because they're saying to the companies, I'm more efficient from home. I don't want to sit in the traffic for 40 minutes in the morning and 40 minutes at the end of the day and waste the time in the coffee room where I need to socialize with people. I'm capable of getting much more done at home, and so that's not going to change. The second thing is banking. We also in the poll that people aren't going to the bank anymore, and in order to interact with the bank, people are obviously doing that online by the digital channel, and people are also calling the bank. In places where banks are open, in order to go to the bank, you have to make an appointment. That appointment is also made either via the telephone channel or the digital channel to make sure you'll go to the bank where only a certain amount of people will. In terms of healthcare, both informative as well as treatment, there's a very big increase in the use of the digital and the phone channel. We started off by when people had to isolate or be put in quarantine, calling the health ministry or the local medical vendors to find out how long people needed to isolate for and when they could leave and what the rules were. And as a result, it was also a lot of healthcare was provided remotely. Doctors, nurses, providing healthcare by means of all kinds of technologies that have popped up, especially this year, providing treatment online. A lot of people are interacting with healthcare via the digital and telephone channel. E-commerce is obviously risen tremendously. People aren't going to stores. They buy not only things that we saw before that people would buy online, but certainly a lot of the restaurant industry has become takeaway. And in order to facilitate the takeaway, it's on the digital channel, it's on the telephone channel. And online shopping, less people in groceries. People are enjoying the convenience of having to do everything from home, and that's the whole business. And so overall, there's all these entities that are providing call center or digital capabilities to customers. There's increased traffic because far more people are interacting. And one of the sectors that we also need to look at are elderly people. Elderly people are typically the people that before COVID, these are the people that would go to the bank. These are the people that would go to their supermarket and they would go to their doctors and they would frequently go. Not today, they're not able to go. They need to interact. Not only sometimes they don't have the skills to, certainly on the digital channel, very difficult for them to interact. And so a lot of them need to call their banks and their healthcare and all the other services which they need. Many of which need authentication to know who it is, to know who that they're speaking to the correct person. So given that what's changed over the last year with the increased traffic and more people having to access, what are the challenges? I mean, there were pre-COVID, some organizations did have stuff in place, but a lot of organizations were suddenly a large increase we saw having to deal with people now accessing, they may not have sufficient security. When people are coming and you want to make sure it's them, what are the measures in place to make sure that it's a customer and not a fraudster? In terms of fraudsters, with so many people at home and an increase in the jobless sector, there are a lot of people that are looking for a shortcut to try to do something. And so one of the challenges of certainly in fraud is the increase in fraud and companies needing to have security measures to make sure they're speaking to their customer. And once that's happened, the next issue of call center is the call duration. So customers, enterprise, banks, healthcare that need to speak to patients or customers, when they need to do that authentication, that process is taking time. And it's taking time either because they're asking for a PIN or they're asking for a password. When you ask for a PIN and password, it's typically in the region of 30 seconds. But specifically, even with the elderly, when someone doesn't remember what the answer to the question was, or elderly person listed what was your childhood friend's best name or your previous address, sometimes they won't remember. And when you're in that situation, the user experience of trying to get that information without putting the phone down, not only is it not 30 seconds, those calls can be 3 minutes. It's frustrating for the agent, it's frustrating for the customers. And so we move to the poor user experience of having to remember PINs, passwords in order to do. And those challenges have always been with us. They've only been accentuated and more severe as we've gone through this very difficult year. So if we can put the third and the last poll on the screen. So we're asking now, when you call a call center, what's the most important thing for you? How long it takes, the user experience, the fact that you feel secure. It's not a right or a wrong answer. Different things for different folks. Okay, and I presume if we would have had a fourth category, all three, I think the results would have been a little bit different. But generally, people are concerned about, they don't want to spend the 30, 40 seconds answering questions. They want that experience to be very smooth, and they obviously want it to be secure because they don't, if it was someone else on their account, they'd want to know that something's been done to stop someone else getting in. Okay, let's move on. So customers, first of all, they don't want to wait on the telephone line. When you call a call center and you need to wait 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes because there's an increase in the number of calls, that is the most frustrating thing. People don't want to wait. Today, there's actually a new thing that I've noticed, that sometimes on an outbound call, you also get put on wait time, which is, in my opinion, not the best user experience. And then when after not waiting, people just want to interact quickly. They don't want to do anything. In other words, they don't want to be asked questions. They don't want to be asked passwords. And that even with voice biometrics, they don't want to be asked a vocal part. In other words, can you please say, my voice is my password? People are also tired of that. They just want to get on the call and they want to speak to the bank and tell them what they want to need to achieve. They want to get access quickly. They want to feel secure, so that they can do their business and just get on with it. And so that's what customers want. On the other hand, what do business wants? Business, they first of all, they want to have cost savings. They're doing thousands of calls a day, and every 30 seconds of every call to ask the question or PIN or the extra time if the person doesn't know the credentials, and organizations would like to save the time. Organizations obviously need to prevent fraud, because fraud, not only are they stealing, but it's also damaging to reputation and to morale. You know, nobody wants fraud, and it's business critical that everyone prevents fraud. And then businesses, they obviously want to provide a seamless experience. They don't, if they could, they don't want to make customers remember PINs or passwords. And by having that great experience, business not only can create loyalty, they can prevent churn, they can make their customers happy, and it's kind of win-win for everyone. So if you want all of those capabilities to have a great user experience, to save costs and to prevent fraud, what do you need in terms of a biometric solution? The first thing you need is a solution with the best possible accuracy. You know, a system that's 99% accurate compared to a system that's 90% accurate means that 10% of the calls you're still going to do manually in order to authenticate them. You can check different vendors' accuracy by looking at NIST scores, and you can do your own testing, or you can try to get third-party people who've done testing themselves and are willing to share results on how accurate the product is. Voice Biometrics works. You know, today there are many organizations and large banks using the technology. If it didn't work, you know, they wouldn't use it, but there are differences between the vendors. Check it yourself, look at the numbers, it's important. The second thing that's also important is the multiple languages. There are countries where people speak more than one language. In Canada, you got the French and English. In South Africa, 11 languages. In Switzerland, 3 languages. And the ability, you find sometimes people may switch a language. If someone recognizes an accent of someone as a nicety, they may switch. And the ability to serve those customers, if a customer decides to speak differently, the solution should be able to do an authentication independent of language, accent, to make sure that you're covering all the possibilities. And today, the third thing that is super important, and perhaps the most important, is to do a quick verification. So you want to let the customer speak as little as possible and give a result as quickly as possible. You know, the more audio you get, the easier it is to get a score. If a customer speaks for 40 seconds, you obviously have a large amount of data to do the authentication. But if you need to make him speak for 40 seconds before you process what he wants, you've defeated the purpose. So today we're looking at the ability to do an verification within some of the products within 3 seconds. That you are doing a verification based on natural speech in 3 seconds will enable organizations to do a verification both in a conversation between a customer and an agent. And also today, where with natural speak and bots and IVR, which are human-like, and customers are speaking, even with a little bit of audio, without having to ask the customer to say, my voice is my password, there's ability to do an authentication. When you speak, when you have that discussion between the agent and the customer, without the need to prolong the call, waiting for the score before you can move forward. And in this way, you will provide that great user experience. The customer, before he knows it, he's already been verified. Just by asking, how can I help you? In the background, the customer has done the authentication based on obviously some kind of a unique ID to know to is your second factor. With high accuracy and multiple language, organizations will be in a great place. Irrespective of this last year, but certainly very relative to COVID and the additional challenges of additional call center volume and additional volume on the digital channel to help customers deal with that in providing the best user experience. And that's it from my side. They're my details. We can move on to the questions now.
Thank you, Robin. That was excellent. And before we move on to the questions, I'm going to pick up on a couple of points which I think are really important. The first one is the back to work and the back to society, back to physical face-to-face stuff. And and here in the UK, and I agree with you in terms of it's going to be, we're not going to go back to 5 days in the office and 5 days commuting, etc. So with big major banks, HSBC has decided that it's redoing contracts with a lot of its staff to say that they can work wherever. So they're kind of, the contract is not, you don't have to come into the office. Same with Lloyds Banking Group and same with Santander. So it is going to, talk about, you need to find ways, methods of authenticating, employees, via a multitude of channels, and I think voice is a good one. The next one is the elderly, and a kind of the case in point is with my mother. My mother's in her mid-80s, and recently she, and she hasn't been able to get out to a bank branch. She had a problem that she forgot a PIN for the ATM. She rang the number on the back of the card, and they asked her for a whole set of knowledge-based questions, and and she's her memory's going. So it took her a long time, and I was helping her. It took her a long time to get to the right person to be properly authenticated, and she needed a lot of support. So that's two kind of things, standout things that I think here where voice can be very important. Right, we've got a question from the audience in terms of and it's interesting because we run a poll, a survey recently, which we kind of launched at the summit earlier on today, which is available as a report and is available online on YouTube to watch the presentation. And in terms of the anti-spoofing, biometric spoofing attacks and presentation attacks, which obviously affect all modalities. So what is the what can be done to countermeasure someone using a voice synthesizer or a replay attack with your solution?
Right. So thanks for that question. Just before I'll go into that, I just wanted to relate to your two comments. I have a mother-in-law the same age as you with exactly the same problems. And you very correctly stated, and I meant to speak about this, is that a whole, not only are people working from home, but agents are working from home, right? And, we normally authenticate the customers, but what about authenticate, is your agent, is that the person you trained? Is he subcontracting? Is he, what's he doing? And, if people are working at home and you want to check that as well, that obviously that's also capable. In terms of spoofing, the biggest challenge is with active authentication, because active authentication, when you say my voice is my password, a customer knows that's a sentence he needs to get a recording of. You can edit it, you can voice spoof it, you can artificial intelligence generated voice of. There's some better and worse algorithms out there that is possible. But when you're speaking about passive, where it's not dependent on what the customer, you're just having a natural conversation, not dependent. The agent may say, so whilst he's bringing up the screen, how's your weather in the town? If you don't have a recording that's to the answer, it sounds weird. And agents should be, using a biometric solution, agents obviously need to be trained and made aware of that. And a weird answer should be followed up by a logical question to know what he's saying. That's a thing. The second thing is voice biometrics doesn't work in a vacuum. It's not as if you take an authentication and if it's a spoof voice, that's it. You've let someone in. At the same time, you've also got the claimed ID, which may be a bank account or an ID account. The fraudster would obviously also need to have that piece of information besides stealing the voice. And organizations, in addition to that, sometimes they look at, I don't know how many technical people or business people on this call, but there's also ability to, in a call, to have the information of which telephone number this is coming from.
Robin seems to have frozen. Hopefully it's going to be a temporary issue, and we'll get Robin back very shortly. He's back. Robin?
Okay.
We lost you for a little bit.
Moment.
You're back.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, yeah. It's a little bit frozen, but we can definitely hear you.
Is that better?
We can hear you, so that's the most important thing, I think. So if you wanna continue, that's better.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Apologies. Hopefully that's a little technical glitch. But at the end of the day, if you've got the voice biometric, which is who you are, if you've got the claimed ID of the bank account, what you know, and if you capture the telephone number who you are, you've got a lastly, the voice biometric companies also have algorithms which know how to look for a spoofed voice using various collections of technologies. It's not the same for every company, but you should make sure that the company does have some kind of a spoofing voice generated recording when you're looking at that voice. Yeah.
No problem. What about so if I'm wanting to deploy voice biometrics, and obviously this is going to it depends on what region I'm going to be in, but what measures should I take in terms of complying with data protection regulation and privacy regulation? If we're in, for instance, if we're in Europe, so what should we do? What are best practices that you can advise in terms of complying with something like GDPR?
Right. So I mean, obviously GDPR is a big thing.
Yeah.
The voice biometric companies are aware of it, and the banks are also aware of it. Certainly, all of those that have done deployments in various countries in the region, and in essence, what you need to have is the ability to delete a voice print. And the fact that the voice print should be anonymized without attaching specific data back to the customer. And those capabilities are typically found in all the companies, because everyone's had to deal with it, and
yeah,
and it's become a non-issue.
Okay, excellent. So, and cross-channel support. So in terms of if I'm if I'm a bank, for instance, and I've got people coming in through a variety of channels, mobile, telephony, possibly smart speaker, but that is less of a kind of an important channel at the moment. Are there any kind of factors that need to be taken into consideration? Does the bank need to create multiple voice prints to support each of those different channels, because the voice quality may be slightly different?
So all biometric vendors need to deal with many challenges. The different languages, the different channels,
yeah,
noise, right? A person can be in a noisy environment, how long it takes to do the authentication. And in an ideal world where someone was speaking in a perfectly quiet room with the same channel and the same language, you're obviously going to get the best score. The companies today are working extremely hard on the algorithms to make sure that a person can come in and enroll in English and verify himself in Spanish, and enroll in your home phone and authenticate in your mobile phone, and learn to isolate silence to voice, and learn to clean the audio to get rid of the noise. And most companies have that. Some companies run models supporting different things. Specifically where I'm from, in our company, we have a background model that would include, in the model we'd create, would have audio from different environments, with different languages, with different channels, so that no matter where you're calling from, what you speak, the system would be able to do a successful authentication.
Okay. And I touched on the smart speaker. It seems to be an obvious channel. It seems to be an obvious device to interact for e-commerce and health services, etc. But it doesn't seem to be one that's taken off in terms of, I've got a couple of smart speakers myself, and I just use them very trivially. I don't really use them for anything that is going to, very similar. And with, there's been lots of debate about whether voice is going to be the next kind of interface. It's what is your take in terms of why we're not kind of banking on our smart speakers, or we're not kind of having kind of dialogue with medical practitioners based that can authenticate us as we're speaking to them?
Right. Well, it's all a case of bringing the use case that provides value, right? So the customer providing the service, he obviously wants to benefit from it in terms of a return on investment. So a smart device at home that people are using for sports results and music, who's going to benefit from that? But a provider who's perhaps a use case would you'd like to identify in the home, if it's which one of the partners is speaking, in order to give them a particular service they know that they would expect compared to other people in the home, that's a use case. So it's just a case of people will do this when they find the use case that will bring not only benefit for the customers but benefit for themselves. And I certainly agree that voice is going to move forward and use more. And at some stage you need to know who the person is, right? But at the end of the day, money talks. You need to have in terms of the business model, find a way that someone's getting something out of it. Yeah,
it's a very good point. It's a very good point. So in terms of the accuracy levels, how long would it take to for a person, a user to be able to be accurately verified? What's the out of the box level of accuracy that the solution provides?
So in this session, I've tried to speak quite generally. I've been in this industry for about 12 years, different companies, and from generation to generation, when we always thought we're at the cutting edge, and we see a new version, and you fall off your chair again. But there are a lot of smart people, together with cooperation with universities, that are working days and nights and putting in the hours to give you the accurate results and isolate the noise and do the verification quickly, provide extremely high accuracy out of the box in the 90 plus, and with tune in to get to the 98-99% accuracy. That's pretty standard today, even for passive. 5-10 years ago, when I say 98-99, that was a standard. My voice is my password. Today for passive, you can reach those numbers quite easily. And the best is yet to come. We're going to get better.
Yeah, I'm sure. In terms of the multi-factor authentication, is there, what is your view about the use of voice for multi-factor authentication?
So first of all, I think multi-factor authentication is needed, right? Because as much as I'm a fan of voice, I'm the first person to realize that it needs to be used in combination with other factors. And as you move from low risk to high risk, the more factors and the more you need to be more severe in terms of what you're demanding of the customer. So certainly, if you call in to find out the banking hours, and okay, let's authenticate him. If you transfer in £20 to your daughter for your birthday, let's just do one, maybe the voice. But if you're sending over £20,000 to purchase something very expensive, then let's bring in the other factor. Let's stop it and do a call back to the designated number of that customer. Let's ask an additional question that only he would know. So yes, voice is important, but it has to be part of a system that takes into account the risk of authentication, and based on the risk, knows which factors and which weights to give to each factor in order for an organization to come to a decision on what they want to do with to allow or stop the transaction happening.
You referenced NIST in your presentation in terms of the testing, the certification. So is that the gold plate? Is that the best for if you're buying solutions? So for instance, if you're stacking your solution up against other passive voice biometric solutions on the market, is NIST the best kind of place to go to for evaluation, or is there other things to consider?
So forever and a day, the NIST evaluation has been considered the gold standard of who you can go to check a result, right? And typically both enterprise software technology companies would participate, as well as universities. And the NIST evaluation is tough because the data sets that they provided and the challenges they provided are normally far more tougher than what you'd find in a typical call center. In terms of the data set they give you of noisy audio and different languages, and they want a score after a relatively small amount of audio. So if you get through NIST and you've done well there, you're in a good place. Typically at NIST, you don't have to look at the percentage of accuracy, right? Because you're always going to do better in a real world because of their tough conditions, right? But if you're high on the list, it's certainly a very good starting point indicating on how well you do. Again, today, you know, there's so many proof points in the industry of voice biometrics that, you know, the technology works, and customers, you know, they entitled to, they can go to NIST, they can test it themselves, or that they can request from vendors, if they have, to provide them with third-party white papers of organizations who may have done testing on multiple vendors.
Yeah, thanks. We've just published a report on biometric payments. So, and we kind of call out Voice for being very good in terms of, you know, the telephony channel, and also for fraud prevention. We've been kind of perhaps largely speaking about authentication as the main kind of application, but, you know, is you know, from your perspective, what's the, you know, is there a 50-50 split in terms of the benefits from fraud prevention versus authentication? Is it an important use case and application for voice?
So I would say the authentication is more important because, you know, if you're a call center and you're handling 100,000 calls in a month, right? You're not handling 100,000 fraudsters in a month.
No.
The meat on the bone is that every call, and not when you do that, you know, a dumb fraudster, right? He's not just having a go. He's not going to break in, right? Yeah. You're going to stop him anyway. For more sophisticated fraudsters, you know, you need to have additional levels, but they aren't. They're not coming in their tens and hundreds, right? It's a good thing to have to stop it, together with multi-layers of other things you should have in place looking for fraudsters. And the additional factor of the voice or voice print of a fraudster is certainly a good tool to have in place as well. But the meat on the bone is the authentication, because, you know, that's obviously giving you the savings on the 30 seconds to do authentication in order to pay for the product. It's giving you the user experience, preventing churn, creating loyalty, and then you together with that, you've also got the fraud prevention, which can help you on, you know, obviously preventing fraud and reputation, and
sure,
you know, we all want to stop fraud.
Yeah, brilliant. We're kind of coming to the close of this session, Robin. If people want to contact you, want to find out more information about Phonexia, what's the best way to do it? Is it through the website or via you? Or both.
If I can just put up my screen again.
Yeah, good idea.
So you can come to our website at phonexia.com. My details are. I'm struggling to put up the screen. There we go. there are my details on the screen. You can call me.
Brilliant.
You can WhatsApp me if you want to. You can email me. Fantastic. And whatever people need, we can answer their questions.
Thank you, Robin, and thank you for the audience for your questions and for being involved in this session. That brings the Goode Intelligence Biometric Summit 2021 to a close. Thank you to all of our speakers and panelists for joining us today and sharing their insight and expertise with us. Thanks to all of you that's tuned in today's summit, and I hope you've taken away something of value from today's event. If we don't manage to get around to answering all your questions, we shall be following up with them to ensure that you get an answer from us. And the recording from today's summit will be available shortly, and we'll be in touch with the details in how to access this recording. On that note, I would like to thank you all for attending. Look out for our next virtual summit on the 29th of June, Identify 2021. We will be covering the identity verification sector. Stay safe and well. Thank you.